success of a week zero nightmare, nothing short of a debacle over in Dublin, as there is plenty of blame to go around, a lot of frustration, a lot of questions, and a lot of answers we can't know until they play another football game and respond to what felt like as empty of a game as I've seen Florida State play, at least in which they cared to play. Like I don't look at the Georgia game, unfortunately, which was the last game we saw Florida State play before facing Georgia Tech. I don't really consider that a game. We all know what happened there. This, however, counted, and everybody seemed anxious and ready to go. All of the reports at the end of camp from the head coach on down were positive that this team was ready to go, and certainly it seemed that way. I didn't catch the last few practices as we were making arrangements to get overseas, but all were glowing. Mike Norvell himself talked a lot about how much he really likes this team, how excited he was to see them to get the opportunity to play in this game. And then you get that dud. Then you get that failure of a game. And now you've got a lot to try to figure out. You got a lot of question marks. Some of this I do think will prove to be better than what we saw. The overall product will be much better than what we saw in this first game. I think there's some things, and going back, I've seen the game twice now. Well, 3 times total if you count the one live and the 2 that I've watched since then. There's some things that look bad initially that aren't as bad, and there's some things that I'm really, really concerned about. And that's going to be interesting to see shake out. Some things that are frustrating. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. Thanks to all of you for joining us. It is good to be back in Tallahassee. As much fun as we had in Ireland, and we had a blast. A hearty thank you to everybody who came out to our events there. We did live shows every day we were there. We were really, really just inundated with camaraderie and kindness. It was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was exhausting. But it was also fun to see so many Noles gathered together, and not just a cool place. Dublin's an unbelievable city, and Ireland's an unbelievable country, and the people are kind. And I would do it all again if I could. Hopefully, we get invited back, and we'll put our best foot forward. That was an awful game. And I think you heard. Well, we heard from Mike today. We heard from Adam Fuller today. If you listen to those press conferences, you know that Mike obviously feels pretty angry at himself. I think if you read between the lines there, he told you that he called a bad game. He told you that his thoughts and strategies going into the game, perhaps he took some responsibility there. Not perhaps he did. Were not as good as they should have been. He did not put people in positions to make as many plays as he had hoped. Obviously, there was no real explosive element to this offense. I think that's him admitting that he waited too long to take some chances down the field in this football game. I think if you listen to Adam, he's very frustrated with the lack of communication, the poor tackling, the awful angles, and the lack of physicality. That is never anything you want to hear a defensive coordinator say about a defense, which was that they were bad in every facet of the game. In essence, I'm just going to go ahead and translate. They usually use some sugary language to try to describe failure, but they're basically telling you that they did a poor job. They did a terrible job, that this team was ill-prepared to play. They called a bad game. Defensive players didn't communicate, took terrible angles, didn't play with physicality, and couldn't tackle. Other than that, things were going swimmingly. So when you have that, it's good, right? You want people to take responsibility when the product is as poor as it is. I'm often reluctant on a show to say that somebody was, because it's the laziest form of analysis. The laziest form of analysis is what fans do in general when they say that somebody was outcoached without knowing how, without saying specifically the areas in which they were outcoached. However, you can use things like a team was outcoached as a blanket statement when one team has more talent than the other team and doesn't play like it. When one team's talent isn't put in a position to succeed with said talent, not put in the best possible position to succeed repeatedly with said talent, and the other team whose lack of talent is showcased not at all. And that's not to suggest that Georgia Tech doesn't have any talent. We spent a long time talking about how good their offensive line was, and it certainly played that way. We talked about how good Jamal Haynes was. I played that interview 3 times because he's a talented player who's gone for over 1,000 yards. We talked about Georgia Tech had an identity, and they were going to play to that identity, and they did, and they never wavered. I don't want to take anything away from Georgia Tech. In fact, kudos to them. They played great. But the point would be Florida State has more talent than Georgia Tech, but you wouldn't have known it from watching the game. And that's why I say you can, in those situations, say that something isn't fluky and that one team outcoached the other. And in this case, Georgia Tech outcoached Florida State. Georgia Tech was better prepared to play. They knew exactly what they were. They had a modus operandi and stuck to it. Florida State looked like a hodgepodge of uncertainty. And when you have a few possession game, 7 possessions for Florida State in this game, you run 58 plays from the line of scrimmage. If that is the situation and you're trying to find yourself or you're late in reacting to something that is being exposed, that accentuates the negative, elevates the positive for the opposing team that is having success in that limited possession game. And yet there you were, oddly, which is also the byproduct of a few possession game. There you were with a position in position to win the football game. Whether you deserve to be or not doesn't matter. You're right there with a chance to win the football game. It's tied in the waning possession. And so it's not all over but the shouting, which is what the initial reaction always is to a loss, especially one in which you're heavily favored. But I kind of came in here today with the idea, Tom, that I was going to say, do not despair, my friends, for despair is for those who see the end beyond all doubt, which is from Keats. But that said, we don't know how the rest of this season is going to play out. It's not a referendum on Mike's time here or Adams or any of the other coaches, save for one position group, which I have repeatedly ripped and was god-awful in this game and needs to change and change soon. I'll stand by that. Randy's done a terrible job. There's no use for him to be on this staff. Other than that, I don't think it's a referendum. I think it's a lesson learned. I'll be very curious to see what they do in order to elicit a more aggressive and physical football team this Monday, because they played with a level of passivity, which could be certainly mistaken if you were uncertain of certain players' makeups. It could be mistaken for soft, is another way of describing it. They were soft. Adam called them soft today, certainly in reference to the edge. But he was right. They were soft on the edge. They were soft at times in the interior. They were soft. Terrible angles, poor tackling. I'm tired of watching. I said this after the game when you and I did the bellying up from the long haul in Dublin. I'm tired of watching middling teams have the much better linebacker or two in every game that we play. And 44 was fantastic for them. Played with a great level of speed, aggressiveness, and physicality. Played downhill, wrapped up, finished plays. Nobody finished plays for Florida State. You could go on and on and on and on and belabor some of those points. I don't really know that it's going to do much good other than for us to vent. And I think a lot of people have been venting about a lot of things since the end of that game on Saturday night. And I get it. That is a reaction. Wins and losses happen for a reason, and they elicit emotion. Lots of emotion. From it's my fault and your fault that we lost to Mike Norvell doesn't know what he's doing after an undefeated season, to the behind the scenes is a disaster, and why are you guys keeping secrets about the calamity of errors behind the scenes? And everybody wants an answer. They're all desperately searching for an answer because expectations weren't met, which is the definition of disappointment, when expectations aren't met. And the expectations were not met, and everybody is bitterly, bitterly disappointed, and they want to know why. Why? How? How, if we're the better team? How, if we have better players, did that happen? And that's why we love the game, because it's not played on paper. You got to go execute. You got to go play. You got to go care to do your job. You've got to be responsible. I thought there were too many guys as this game wore on. This is how upsets happen. You find yourself unable to pull away. An underdog sticks around a little bit longer, is having not just a marginal amount of success, but they're able to stay within their game plan. You never had to make them do something that they didn't want to do. What they didn't want to do was have Haynes King sit in the pocket and throw the football. They wanted to be able to run him, and boy, did they run him. They wanted to stick to the run game. Boy, did they stick to the run game. They wanted him to have to throw in situations that were advantageous to them. And they were able to do that because you could never pull away. You had the opening drive. You go right down the field, wonderfully scripted, wonderfully executed, you score. But what do? Turn around and immediately give up a touchdown the other way in the easiest of ways. I mean, Georgia Tech barely had to break a sweat to go down and score against Florida State with an immediate response. So right off the bat, you don't get to pull away. You don't get a stop. You don't answer a score with a stop. Instead, you let them get right back in it and feel good about themselves. And so as this game wore on and the tick, 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 ticking of the clock became obvious that you were going to play a game that, if it felt like it went by quick, it's because it did go by quick. It went by as fast as any game as you've seen since 2020, I believe it was, Tom. Did I say that earlier?
November of 2020.
November of 2020. You have to go back that far to find a game that played at the tempo that slow and to go by with that few possessions. Yes, that's right. 58 plays from scrimmage, 7 possessions. The magnitude of those failures and successes with only 58 plays from scrimmage and 7 possessions, this is what you used to get mad at Jimbo about. Remember that? When we had the better players and you're playing fewer possessions instead of more? How mad we'd all get. Like, no, Mike. No, Jimbo. You want more possessions, not fewer. I'd be very curious to watch this weekend of college football because there's going to be fantastic games. And the reason I say that is how much of this is the eye in the sky conversation in the helmet? How much of this is coaches and players trying to figure out a very NFL-centric thing, right? This is how do you best utilize that communication without overanalyzing, perhaps paralysis by analysis. You saw, and Adam referred to it today, and I think it's going to be fascinating to watch over the weekend to see if this happens. Offense is huddling. Offense is waiting to come to the line of scrimmage. Are we going to see a seismic shift in offensive football? We go from an era of spreading people out and playing very, very, very fast, teams that would work up to 90 plays in a game or more, to now deciding the best way to confuse and perhaps disguise what you're trying to do offensively is to wait in that huddle and let the play clock run down. That would be clock. And then come to the line of scrimmage. And now you've got a coach talking to a player and it's last second and you've got sort of a paralysis by analysis. I don't know. I can't hear the conversation in the headset. Don't know how they think that went. I don't think they were in love with it based on what I heard today. So there's a lot for them to adjust to. But I think one of the things that can get lost in the minutia, get lost in the travel and all of the other stuff and the new communications and the clock rules and how, few possessions, you can forget that a big part of football is whooping somebody's ass across from you. You can just forget sometimes that despite all of the talk of technique and leverage and things that you're trying to do, which is a very, very important element of football, especially in stopping an opposing team's run. But sometimes it is about the knockback, about the initial jarring shot to an offensive lineman that resets the line of scrimmage and disrupts the timing of a play. We saw none of that from the front four, save for the second possession of each half. That's it. Other than that, it looked like they were playing to stymie. And that's why you saw what looked to be an excess of passivity. Now, one thing I want to point out, I don't think that's who Josh Farmer or any of these other defensive linemen are, although I'm going to need to see a much better effort from Darrell Jackson. That said, if that's the way you're going to play it, you're worried about the quarterback and you're worried about all of the things in terms of contain. Well, I'll tell you what, then your linebackers better know what they're doing and they better trigger downhill, read a play, trigger downhill and go make a tackle. They didn't. And your safeties have to be a lot better with fits, and they were awful. Safety play was awful. They've already made a change. I'm not surprised by that. Hussey will now start this weekend. I would have made that same change. And watching the game again this morning, I was irate at some of the poor tackling, poor angles, poor fits that I saw from that group. That was breathtaking.
Well, there was also hesitation too.
Lots of it.
That's part of it. So if Mike Norvell says, like he did today at the dais, and Adam Fuller says, like he did, that we were unable to stop the run, that they were able to build everything that they did off of the run, that is as fundamental of a mea culpa / we weren't good enough as you can get. Every single coach, when they're talking about defensive football, even in the era that we're living in, which is more pass heavy, says we're going to need to stop the run. And especially against an opponent like this that lives off of, this is their priority 1, 2, and 3 is running the ball. They like to do it in different ways, but we knew that coming in. All the veterans returning, the quarterback returning, the whole thing about stopping Georgia Tech was winning first and second down and stopping the run. And we never did.
No, never did.
Never did.
Never did.
And that's the problem here, is that it's like saying, well, I didn't get paid this month by my job, my company. I worked there. I didn't get paid. Okay. Well, then these other companies are going to say, well, how about paying the bills? I didn't get paid. Where's the money coming from?
Right.
We didn't stop the run. What else are you going to expect? Like when you're trying to assess other things about what the defense did or how this guy played, how did Azaria and Fentrell play? I don't know. We didn't stop the run. Hard to tell. I think they were okay, but we didn't stop the run. And the part that really is frustrating is when you bottled it up, you didn't finish the play. Because there were times, key second down situations and other moments where you bottled it up, you're in the right place, all you've got to do is finish, but there's a spin, a cutback, somebody got lazy on a backside contain, whatever it is, and instead of a no gainer or a gain of 1, it's a gain of 6. And now you're in 3rd and 2 and you're dead. Like that was the killer. And when there's only 7 possessions, to your point, fewest possessions in a game since 2020, you would figure that maybe a Service Academy matchup head-to-head for the Armed Forces Trophy, there'd be fewer possessions. Nope. The one we watched was.
The one we watched was,
one thing you could not do in this situation was be successful basically at no point against the run. And that's what we saw. So it's hard because you got physically beat. You just got physically beat, and it was comprehensive for the entirety of the game. After that first drive, you think about the balance of momentum, the balance of the game. You got your ass handed to you, and you got your ass handed to you by a lesser roster, by a coaching staff that doesn't get paid nearly as much as your coaching staff. Damn it, man. This is a wake-up call.
Well, they were really smart. This is where we get back to the out-coaching part of it. They knew their receivers were probably not going to win one-on-ones with Fentrell and Azaria. So they put together a lot of motion and a lot of condensed formations. And a lot of those condensed formations forced the corners to play off. And now automatically you're soft in that situation. You're playing soft in that situation against the run. So once they create the side that they want the leverage to, they can run to that area. You're already off. Now you got to come up and make tackles. Well, they didn't come up and make tackles. And I'll tell you, there's a large contingent of the folks on defense having to look at one another, but more importantly, look in the mirror. So a lot of guys not willing or not capable or not fighting to get off of blocks. So that's got to be really
a choice.
It is a choice, and that's disconcerting, and that's how I can't answer what's going to come next. People want to know, okay, well, will they fix it? Well, they can certainly diagnose problems. I think Mike is a very smart coach. All of these guys know football. They can look at the film and say, here's what's happening. Here's why a play is successful or not.
Well, do they? I'm sorry. I just have to interject. Nick Saban told me this is a top 5 roster. He lied to us, Jeff. Nick Saban lied to us. I'm not sure that he knows football. He told us that this is a top 5 roster.
He told us the week of the game it was a top 5 roster.
I got to say, you know what? I'm questioning his ability to assess talent. I think he's a bit of a liar. I think he misled you and me. And so I'm really mad at Nick Saban today.
So getting back to this, they know the game. They'll look at the film and they'll say, okay, well, this is why this play is succeeding or failing. Here's the frustration. Here's what you have to do different. But you can't know whether or not, unless it continues in repetitive fashion here. Now, some of these guys are veterans, but do they care to play football? They care to be there. They care to fight through things. They care to reach down and find what it takes to be tough in moments when things aren't going well. You care to work through these issues with an extreme form of aggression and discipline and fundamental. They didn't on Saturday. So will they against Boston College? I suspect yes, but I can't know that. I got to see them play another football game. And if God forbid we're coming out of that game on Monday against Boston College having a similar conversation about a lack of fight and toughness and physicality and want to, that would be that would be a fundamental breakdown in which we would begin to have a conversation about the character of this team and Mike's assessment of this team and what he has and doesn't have and the culture of this team. I mean, you would have to have these conversations if it happens again. I suspect it won't happen again. I suspect we'll see a different looking football team on Monday.
Not that it would be a runaway, but you're talking about the compete level, because that's the problem. The problem, if you're going to try and make an argument, and the coaching staff's been accountable. But let's just say you go back to the old Jimbo days where accountability was a little bit light, or the Willie days where the accountability was a little bit light.
Right.
The biggest problem you have in a moment like that is there's another team on the field with another uniform. And so you have something to compare yourself to.
Right.
And when you compare us, not just on the scoreboard, I'm talking play for play, passion, physicality, playing as one, all of those little things. God, they were so much better than us. Georgia Tech was just so much better than us.
Well, I want to get into some of that, and also always caution about making too many sweeping judgments about a player's character or his toughness or willingness or any of those things based on a devastatingly sad, sorry result in one game. And I see this a lot. It is sort of the internet era where everybody's got to have a take and everybody's got to think they know for certain exactly what a player or a team is after one game, good or bad. This is the beauty of a season. The teams change, the teams get better, or they don't, or they don't. They write their own narrative, and we end up having to document that and have those conversations based on what we see. But one game doesn't tell you that. And I do think there's enough evidence with a lot of these players, because we saw them play last year on the undefeated team for a lot of these guys, for example, to understand that they're better than they showed on Saturday. Not all. Some of these guys are new, so we'll have to see it from them. I thought Marvin Jones Jr. was terrible.
The snap count disparity between Marvin Jones and Lola Hea this week will be very interesting.
Very, very. I think Lola Hea, if I remember looking at that properly, was 7 snaps.
He might have had some special teams.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, there were 2 drives. They were very good drives.
He was good.
Yeah.
But I thought Marvin was terrible. And it breaks my heart to say that. I'm not going to single him out because I thought a lot of guys were terrible.
A lot of them.
A lot of guys were terrible.
The defensive end, old batted balls, was all doing nothing.
Yeah, that was a group effort of suck.
It was.
I used to talk about the triumvirate of suck. This was a lot of people simultaneously sucking.
Yeah, right.
Have a little fun on a Balls McWednesday?
I didn't expect that on a Balls McWednesday too.
Yeah.
But when you walk out of a game such as that one, beautiful as the weather was,
stunning, and
you say, I think I would have liked to see more Lola Hea Turner at defensive end. I mean, doesn't that speak volumes?
It's a toughie.
It is. I'd like to have seen Juice Cryer maybe a little bit more than not seeing him.
Nary a snap.
No. They were asked a question today about, was he available? And
he said he was. He was going to be a big part of the team moving forward.
It was kind of a skirt to me, a little skirt of the issue, but what do I know?
But see, here's what I don't know. Because in that same answer, he said what we already know, because we were there. And that is that Juice Cryer was a part of their rotation all through camp.
Yeah.
100% accurate. Delivered information from the practices that we witnessed. He was constantly in the rotation. Inexplicably, he goes from being in that rotation, high up in that rotation, to not playing in this game. There's no way to know that at the end of a camp, when a guy's been part of the 2 deep repeatedly, that they're suddenly not going to play him on that Saturday. Don't know what you want to do with that. What are we supposed to say about that?
Well, the other guys were kicking ass. There just wasn't enough time.
Don't get me started on these linebackers or that linebacker coach.
I can't even go. You're a self-start.
I can't go down that. I've been talking about this for a long time, buddy. you could sense, I'm sure, if you had just turned, because I was sitting one row up above you in the press area for that game.
Mm-hmm.
The open air, beautiful as it was awesome. I wish every press was in that situation at Viva.
Every press box could be that temperature.
But we got midway through the second quarter, and I couldn't watch our linebackers anymore. I was just on the cusp of tears watching our linebacker play. It's just.
Remember the second quarter Jordan had on the road at Clemson?
Mm-hmm.
Linebacker play was the opposite of that in the second quarter.
It was so bad. It was so hard. I just thought you'd have to ask somebody to pretend like to be that bad. It was unreal.
Well, the other part is too, first play from scrimmage, everything's about setting a tone. But the first play from scrimmage, this was my eyes for the people on Warchant TV. They just went like the little emoji we have.
The giant eyes.
Put that on the screen, the giant eyes.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched the surge from the Georgia Tech offensive line against our front four. I mean, good God, it was hard to watch.
So,
and you figure, all right, they're awake now. All right, there you go. Shake off the Dublin mist. There we go. Let's bring it back a little bit here. And no, their first drive looked easier than our first drive.
I thought so too.
And our first drive looked pretty cake.
Well, yeah. I even tweeted out you couldn't draw up a better first drive of a game than that. And then Georgia Tech trumped it. Jeff Lundy will be sitting on the bench unless it's short yardage or goal line. I've suggested as much. He's just going to get isolated sideline to sideline or in coverage if he's not.
How about third and long, Jeff Hill, that is? Because people might be confused if listening to audio. A question from Jeff to you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how about third and long?
Yeah, definitely put him in there and let him cover somebody. He's great at it. You won't see asses and elbows from sideline to sideline, buddy. That guy will blanket cover somebody. Whew. Okay, now we're gonna exhale. It's now an interesting test, though. I mean, clearly Mike was livid today and doing his best to try to keep that within reason, within a certain parameters. Like, he didn't want to go down certain roads and talk about, but the fact that he would even reference these moments the way that he did, if he touches on something, it means he's livid about it after a game like this. If he touches on the fits the way that he did,
there's a hidden one too with the offense that we can probably talk about later too.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that he talked about where you get the sense that he's.
I don't think he was happy with some of the substitution choices as well, which, hey man, that's your call. And he is taking full responsibility. He always says it starts and stops with me. He's doing the right thing. He's talking about, there are a couple of guys who were limited in camp that maybe, they were in the game and didn't look like, yeah, I agree.
Well, we saw wholesale changes on the offensive line.
Maybe at that particular segment group,
Why?
I want to hop on the headset. You're allowed to also in the early part of the series say, you know what? Let's do the thing they allow.
Yeah, let's not do that.
This isn't soccer. I don't get a few cracks at it. Let's
there
immediately.
Are 58 snaps from scrimmage, 7 possessions. These kids are 19, 20, and 21 years, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. This is what you do. You lift and you run and you eat perfectly and you do all these things so that you get this one moment in time to play a game on a Saturday. Like, football practice sucks. Anybody who's ever played knows football practice sucks. But you endure football practice because you get the opportunity to play in the game on Saturday. And there's nothing more fulfilling and exhilarating to a competitive person to play a competitive, physical, hard, gut-wrenching, mind-expanding in a lot of ways game like football. That's why you do all the things, is to play in this moment. And we're going to go ahead and mass substitute because, I don't know, maybe guys are just exhausted. Those 2 plays took it out of them. Get somebody else in there quick at running back.
You said it, and they would take issue with the quote per se as it pertains to softness. Adam Fuller,
I know what he was saying about
soft
the
on the edges. No, but he called him soft too.
He did.
At the outset, he says, we have a great strength and training program. We have power. We believe we have
powerful players. Yes.
We have powerful players. They need to play powerful.
Right.
That's not subtle.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. More in a moment.
End of summer super sale is going on now. Through the close of business on August 31st, we drop prices on many of your favorite items. Save at least 30% on every TV, every bike, and all tools. Save 25% on car stereo and computers too. And every piece of jewelry, rings, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, pendants, everything marked down at least 50%, some items as much as 70% off. But hurry for your best choice. The end of summer super sale is happening now through Saturday, August 31st at both locations. Fulmer's pawn, gun, sales, and check cashing, more than you might expect. This is Alex from Fulmer's. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Fulmer's buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Fulmer's for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Fulmer's is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Fulmer's, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's no heating and air conditioning.
You probably already know that Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is your one-stop destination for all pool maintenance needs, offering everything you need from chemicals, cleaners, vacuums, nets, and more. But that's not all. Pinch a Penny also carries a huge selection of premium hot springs hot tubs paired with easy financing options, making these luxury hot tubs affordable for everyone. And if you have an older hot tub and you're worried about the hassle of removing it, worry no more. Pinch a Penny will not only remove and haul away your old hot tub, but also offer a trade-in value for a credit towards your new one. So why wait? Visit Pinch a Penny's 12,000 square foot showroom today on Greer Road and discover how effortless and affordable owning a fantastic hot tub can be. Find out more at TallahasseeHotSpring.com. That's TallahasseeHotSpring.com.
Your destination for the most authentic Peruvian flavors in the capital city is Café de Martín and El Bar, where you can escape to another world and indulge in the true taste and experience of Peru. Enjoy daily lunch specials like our all-new lomo saltado or beef asado sandwiches served with a side and a drink. All-day happy hour every day and exciting live entertainment every weekend. Join us Friday, August 29th with a night of your favorite songs with guitarist George Feiju. View our full menu and live music schedule online at cafedemartin.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Here's the good news. This Saturday, you can get as loosey and goosey as you want because we don't play till Monday, and there's a whole lot of kick-ass football on this weekend. Man alive, as fans of the game itself, we are in luck because I don't care whether you're a sporting guy or gal or not, or just a fan of watching good football. You got a lot of intriguing games. It's a very, very big weekend for a lot of teams, in particular in the ACC. You get this Miami and Florida game. They've only played 4 times since 1987. That's ridiculous, first of all, but that's true. And, you know, you can say it's a pretty important weekend for the league. I know we don't care about the league, but if you're looking to get more than one team in, That is to say, an at-large bid. Well, after Florida State lost, and certainly SMU looked dreadful, having to score 16 points in the fourth quarter to beat a god-awful Nevada team. The league's not off to a flying start. You're going to need Miami, and I don't say that as if I'm rooting for it, because I hate Miami and I would never root for Miami, just as I would not root for Florida unless it directly benefited us in either case. But if you're looking at the league and you want to be a two-bid league at least, you're going to need Miami to win that game.
That may be true, but right now I don't even know that I'm worried about how many bids the ACC gives.
I'm not.
I'm more worried about destabilizing the state at this point because we look a little unstable ourselves. So I think a Florida win would do more. I'm not even looking at this year's playoff right now. I'm having a conversation about the bigger picture of college football. 30 to 50 teams right now probably believe they have a realistic chance to be one of the 12. And that's different. That's one of the pluses from all of this change. And, I kind of find that intriguing week to week, I will admit. What would you say? There are 5 to maybe 10 G5 teams that think they have a chance to make the playoff. Probably so.
Right, somewhere in there. That there are probably 4, maybe 6 ACC teams that believe they have a chance to be the champion of this league. I think it's a league full of parity. Obviously, they just watched Florida State look like pure ass. They feel pretty good about their chances all of a sudden against the Noles. Not saying that's who we're going to be, but it's what we just looked like. I would say that in the Big Ten, you probably have 5 teams or thereabouts that think they have a chance. You see where I'm going?
Oh, sure. SEC 10. And they'd be right. Because if the committee could put 10 SEC teams in, they would.
Well, if the ACC's not going to give them anybody else, then yeah, there's one more slot for the SEC.
They did last year.
Right.
Screw us.
Yeah, it's a little tough. We've had some folks contribute here early. I do need to read that. I always appreciate that. Thank you, guys. George writes, I love Coach Mike Norvell. That being said, is there any worry that he can only win with a real/perceived less than type team roster? Haven't pressed the panic button yet. I hope it's just a big overreaction. This might very well be, George, a huge overreaction. They call it Overreaction Monday, and today serves as a Monday for this Florida State football team, by the way, in terms of preparation week with the game being Monday. So this might be. I mean, I think I will tell you without making any excuses, because they played dreadfully, and we've said it every which way you could possibly say it, that they were awful, that they were soft, that they did a lot of things piss poor. The coaching was awful. The team wasn't prepared to play. Mike just told you that. Mike said that about himself. So there you go. But I will say there are a lot of things that probably were less than ideal for this team to go play that game in Ireland, especially the team you're facing, with all of their receivers back, their starting quarterback back, 4 of their starting 5 offensive linemen, which was already one of the best offensive lines in the country. The transfer that came into the offensive line was an all-conference player. So you had that running back, that quarterback, those 2 receivers, an identity, a team that knew exactly what they were, and one that was definitely hungrier than FSU on display Saturday. Florida State coming off the season they came off of, Georgia Tech looking to prove it, and boom. It's a recipe for disaster, especially when you show up confused and soft and take terrible angles and don't tackle.
Our ass is in the jackpot now.
That's a toughie. But don't forget, while we're on that subject, and I'll get back to these questions, of ACC and 2 bids. I know Tom's not worried about it, but we got to figure Georgia will manhandle Clemson, right?
Probably.
Maybe another one of those.
What
maybe
I'm saying
not.
is
Maybe not.
In-state rivals, I need them to be pissed off too. The most that everybody could be pissed off right now would be a good thing.
Well, there's a lot of pissed off people. Kurt, best part of this debacle is we can stop complaining about the snub. It's in the past now. Too many other things to worry about. Do we go with a youth movement at linebacker and let them play fast? Buddy, are you trying to trigger me just like Tom does with this talk of linebackers?
I was going to lay off it today. And no, that's not my burner account.
We have failed in recruiting the position for years.
About 10 of them.
That's not to say that intermittently there haven't been a player or 2 that helped disguise those failures. I thought last year's 2 starters, to a great degree, helped mask the overriding issues at linebacker, both coaching and recruiting. And that's a testament to Kalen DeLoach and Tatum Bethune. But there's nary a one out there right now that we've seen play a good football game for us. Nary a one. So let's hope that they do. Let's hope that they do. Tom Rice, do you think the open practices could be hurting the element of surprise? Play calling was atrocious, but seems like Georgia Tech knew exactly what we were doing. Was the body language bad as it looked on defense the last drive? I want to go back to this. No, I don't think the open practices hurt the team. Georgia Tech knew that Florida State wanted to run the ball. So Florida State begins the game and does run the ball. Now, you have passes to running backs primarily, not wide receivers, but you do have an element of physicality early and you're running the ball. Mike wanted to run the ball. This game reeked to me of a coach who thought our offensive line would dominate their defensive line based on last year's results. Last year's results were that Georgia Tech couldn't get stops in the run game. Period. They were one of the worst in all of college football. Mike's unit up front, the offensive line, is probably one that he has referenced more than once as being the best he's ever had. Those are Mike Norvell's words, people. Okay, the best he's ever had. You add it all up, and he's telling you, we're good, we can run. We know what we saw them be a year ago. He's not saying this, I am. The game plan tells you he thought they were going to wear them down and run the ball. Well, A, you only got 7 possessions. So there wasn't an opportunity to do that for 2 reasons. A, you didn't have the ball enough, and B, your sorry-ass defense couldn't get them off the field on 3rd down so that you could get the ball back and have more possessions and wear them down. So Mike took too long to adjust to the fact that that game plan wasn't going to work. The clock was going by too fast. We were getting into the second. He had 1 possession, I believe it was. Was it the second quarter or was there 2? 4 total in the first half, 3 in the second half. So one of those quarters, they had the ball 1 time. You ain't wearing anybody down if you have the ball 1 time. It's just not happening. He didn't start taking shots in the passing game until it was too late, till the 4th quarter. He basically admitted that today in his press conference. He's mad at himself.
Well, that was the other subtle thing that I was going to bring up is that, he was talking about the shots were called. We checked out of a couple of them based on the looks we were getting. I don't know.
I don't think that's true.
No,
the look you were getting was to stop the run. So a lot of people look at. I'm sorry, I want to make this point really quick.
Okay.
A lot of people killed this offensive line after the game because they see a play and a result of a play. Not how it got there, but a play and the result of a play. The play is 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 11 after a run, followed by a guaranteed call to run the ball on 2nd and 11. Jesus, Mike. Anyhow, so we're going to run it again on 2nd and 11 and never throw it. And it's going to get stuffed again. Okay, now it's 3rd and long, and you are not in an advantageous position to throw the ball. So you wonder why you don't have success as much or as often as you'd like, because now the pressure's coming on 3rd and 9. They're going to get after DJ. He's going to have to move off a platform and move his arm angle, which we saw a lot of this happen, because they know you have to throw because you just gave them everything they needed to dissect the plays. Anyhow, the failures to have success in the run game were not solely because the offensive line didn't play well. It was because Georgia Tech could feel free to stack the box with no fear of them throwing the ball over their heads.
Yeah, that's part of it. I also think that he's telling you that he doesn't love some of the checks out.
I think he's telling you that too. I think you're right.
How often do you hear from an offensive mind, especially on this staff? Now, Atkins didn't speak today, but either he or Mike Norvell or Kenny Dillingham say, I thought he checked us into a lot of right plays.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
No.
Now, DJ made throws when he had to. He was put up against it. He's hung out to dry. You're in 4th and long twice. He's hung out to dry.
Play calling the
first reason he makes the throws. I'm hoping that maybe loosens the purse strings in Mike's mind, saying, okay, if we can block it up for him, he'll dissect the defense and he'll go make the throws, at least enough. DJ missed a couple of things. We had some unfortunate situations, a lot of unfortunate situations, but one in particular where you've got a shot up the seam to Morlock, and there's internal pressure. I thought he had pretty good time most of the day.
He also missed a throw that you got to make if you're in
to Ja'Kai.
Yeah,
but there's a more open guy. And
there's two. There's 2 open guys on that play. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. What I would say about the open practice question, though, we knew everything that Georgia Tech was going to do. If a schlep like me can tell you what Georgia Tech is going to do, and you don't do it, it's not about practice access.
No.
They know what this offense was going to be. They knew we were going to run the ball. They know what counter is. They know what the speed is. Hell, like I said, these offenses in a lot of ways are mirror images of each other.
Just because we have to take a break. End it right here. Georgia Tech ran the bejesus out of counter. What? But what do we do?
But if I can tell you that,
do this.
They know.
Of course they know. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
De Leon County Sheriff's Office is asking the community to help them locate a teenager they believe may be in danger. Dylan Markham Odell, 16, was last seen Thursday near Comet Drive. He is white, 5'9", and weighs about 150 pounds. The Sheriff's Office said the teen has 2 tattoos that may help identify him: a compass tattoo on the left side of his back and a Fox Racing logo on his left bicep. The Sheriff's Office was unable to provide specific details on why Markham Odell is considered endangered, but a spokesperson stated that the timing of his disappearance makes it suspicious. Authorities ask anyone with information on his whereabouts to call 850-606-5800. A woman is behind bars after being accused of hitting and killing a pedestrian with her vehicle and leaving the scene of the accident earlier this month. In Northwest Tallahassee, in the area of West Pensacola Street and Ocala Road, Jordan Riley, 23, turned herself in Monday. According to the investigation, Riley had left a local bar after consuming alcoholic beverages that night. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Chance for storms this afternoon. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun. Daytime highs approaching 94. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear tonight. Slight chance for storms 74. Slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 94. Mainly sunny. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 91 degrees.
Construction services. T-Bar.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Bar Enterprises. Roofing and construction services. T-Bar. T-Bar.construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
There it is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No, I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on here, we are behind because we're spirited. And we're angry, and we're talking it out and having a discussion with everybody the same way you did at your breakfast table or on the phone or via the internet.
Or in an Irish pub.
Or wherever it might have been. Let's get to a couple more of these. Who am I behind on? Joey Two Guns, great name. Can we start a new award for linebackers called the Shanahan of Shame? Tom, do you believe DJ is the best option on the roster? Is there another Milton situation? I don't think there's a Milton situation, but let's see if we get 4 or 5 games into the season and things aren't better for him. I don't know that he was helped out here, guys. I'm not going to blame this one on DJ. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. He was kind of it was a whatever game for him. Let's see how he plays from here. Obviously, Mike didn't like some of the decisions, at least in terms of checks.
That's me reading the implication.
But I think that's fair. Yeah. But he also wasn't dreadful. They were behind the chains the whole game. They refused to change things up.
The 2 4th down plays are his bright and shiny moment.
Those are big moments because that's the pressure. That's the game.
One's patience, and then one is the ability to cut it loose. It's 2 different skill sets that were tested there, and he passed both.
Yeah. So I've got patience in him, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, it's It's tough. It's tough to stomach a game where you have the better team and you lose the way you did. And that's the other part. There was no uncertainty here. I know it came down to a last-second field goal, but you're just talking results at that point. You're not talking about process.
Yeah.
The process tells you that Georgia Tech outcoached you, they out-physicaled you, they outplayed you, they out-game-planned you. They did everything better than you in this game, except for your kicker was a superstar.
Well, yes, and he was.
And he deserves the credit that he's received.
That's the one thing today from the presser where, it came down to one play. I mean, it did literally do that.
Yeah, but it wasn't that, and he knows that. He knows that.
He does. I mean, at halftime, we were talking about how Georgia Tech was just easily the better team in the first half. Okay, let's see about those second half adjustments like last year. And you come out and you get a couple of stops in the first few possessions. One of them's a missed field goal, but you do get the stops, and then the offense would stall. I mean, the snap count could not be more interesting. There is no more interesting thing to me than the snap count after this upcoming game from Boston College. I want to see what they learned and who they said, screw this. I'm not going 8 deep here. I'm going 2 deep.
Well, they already gave you one answer. They changed the safety play.
That's correct.
Huskies in the game.
They also took Rob Scott off as a co-starter on the right side.
He was a dreadful player in this game. It was an embarrassment, and I feel bad for him because I think that's the direct result of the injuries that he's had. But now you need to stop with the nonsense, and I've been talking about it for 2 years. He can't play anymore. Never ends. That's an affinity and a kindness and a love for a guy who's committed to you, and I get it. He's still on scholarship. Give him his money. That's fine. Don't roll his ass out there. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with. Folks, Jeff Cameron here to tell you about my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee. What is DexaFit, you might ask? Well, it's where you want to go if you're looking to elevate your health and fitness journey. DexaFit's exclusive services include AI-enhanced body scans, VO2 max fit testing, and RMR metabolism analysis to provide detailed insights into your body composition, cardiovascular fitness, and metabolic well-being. Sounds like a lot of science, but that's because it is the most advanced science available. In fact, that's a good thing, right? DexaFit gives you immediate detailed insights about your body composition, provides a customized plan to improve on troubled areas delivered in an easy-to-navigate mobile app so you can share the information with your trainer or even your doctor to find the most direct path to your peak health. Check out DexaFit Tallahassee, the most accurate and most state-of-the-art body composition scanning and fitness planning available. Located on Capitol Circle Northeast, directly next to Bumpus. Check them out online at DexaFit.com and tell them Jeff Cameron sent you. DexaFit Tallahassee. Know your body and transform your life. Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Greta, Tallahassee.
The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update.
Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Jacksonville Jaguars preparing for their season opener in Miami a week from Sunday. They're a 3.5-point underdog against the Dolphins at total 49. Jaguars over-under win total 8.5 flat. Coming up on Saturday, Florida, 2.5-point home dog of the Miami Hurricanes. Monday night, Florida State laying 18 at Doak Campbell Stadium against Boston College. 50.5 the total. NASCAR, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin all plus 550 to win the Southern 500 at Darlington. William Byron, Ty Gibbs are both at 9-1. Chris Sale on the mound with the Braves today, $1.50 favorite at Minnesota. Braves are $1.45 dog at the Seattle Mariners. Bet smarter with Juice Reel. It's free in the App Store. Juice, REEL. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Guess what, people? Wendy's has new saucy nugs. You heard me. Wendy's nugs now come in 7 saucy flavors. Buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, spicy ghost pepper. You can literally hear your taste buds after every bite. I'm serious. Listen to mine. Okay, that's just me playing with sound effects, but you got the idea. For a whole new way to nug, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's.
Febreze.
Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week. Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleanse are nice, but in between, you know I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh, yeah. Spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La, 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 la.
Falmer's end of summer super sale is going on now. Through the close of business on August 31st, we drop prices on many of your favorite items. Save at least 30% on every TV, every bike, and all tools. Save 25% on car stereo and computers too. And every piece of jewelry, rings, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, pendants, everything marked down at least 50%, some items as much as 70% off. But hurry for your best choice. The end of summer super sale is happening now through Saturday, August 31st at both locations. Falmer's pawn, gun, sales, and check cashing, more than you might expect. This is Alex from Falmer's. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Falmer's buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Falmer's for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Falmer's is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Falmer's, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
I'm attorney Carrie Roan with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people that we represent that when they share their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners didn't believe their story. That's why you need an attorney who has your back no matter what, an attorney who starts by believing that you're telling the truth. We are Basic Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Busy Balls McWednesday. Appreciate you being here. spirited and fun conversation in hour one, as you figured it would be, given all that happened. All that happened over in Dublin and all that needs to be reacted to. And, Mike will talk, he did today, about what occurred this week and in practice already and how he liked their attitude. And nobody cares. We're at a place now. Now I know he has to say that, but this is where we're going to be on Monday night, watching very intently to see that Florida State looks like a different team from an attitude standpoint, from a physicality standpoint. And my instinct tells me they're going to play much better on Monday.
I would tend to agree. I mean, they're going to play fired up. I can promise you that. And at this point, it's almost like you use your mulligan. If I'm talking about from the players' standpoint, from the snap counts, there may be NIL deals, there may be this, there may be that, but that film is that film. And if you're blanking around and doing the same crap this time on Monday and we're in the first quarter, you're done. I'm sitting your ass. I can't have it. And I don't care the reasons why. Maybe some of the reasons why you weren't put in a position to succeed. Maybe schematically the way that we're doing things doesn't put you in a position to succeed. I can't have it again, though, no matter whose fault it is and what percentage you want to assign the blame to. We're going to put dudes out there who give a crap and are going to play fired up and get downhill and go play physically.
Yeah, I can't fathom the level of shock and disappointment Mike Norvell felt after watching the film. Nobody getting off blocks. They created, as I said earlier, no push up front on the defensive line, starting with that. There's so many things to look to, but at the end of the day, you'd say there was nothing to hang your hat on, nothing that you could say you did well other than your kicker. Your kicker played great. You didn't really have other aspects of the game where you'd say, okay, I feel really good about this. I'll give you one caveat that when you had to throw the ball late and you needed those receivers to make some plays late, in particular on fourth down, you did come through. You did come through in those situations. Perhaps that allows for Mike to trust in the passing game more than he did clearly coming into the game. That's one thing we did not touch on. I talked about the game plan. I talked about Mike's reluctance to get away from that. Talked about why Georgia Tech was able to stymie some of that. We talked about the other side of the football, and I mentioned that, Georgia Tech did a great job of preparing their team to play in this game. This gets back to them doing fantastic work from a coaching standpoint. I mentioned that they were able to condense the formations at wide receiver, and we're playing off with the corners in that situation, which is going to make you kind of soft, and you got to come up in the run game there and make a play.
You got to sort through the muck.
You got to sort through the muck. So they weren't going to put those receivers in man situations because they thought Florida State would win that situation defensively. Look, you go back to the wide open touchdown pass that Haynes King misses, and this is why he's not a pro prospect. This is why he's a really good college quarterback. But if you go to that deep ball, and I wrote in my notes here, so they check at the line. There's an adjustment there, obviously, and there's a miscommunication from Florida State. And there was a lot of miscommunication from Florida State anytime there was motion or condensed sets. But the communication failures, which was a concern you had coming in where we talked about who's going to talk, right?
It's a second-level defender game, I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see them confused, and when you're trying to pass guys off and responsibilities change, if there's not an understanding or very good communication, you get what you saw, which is they run a route, attack the leverage that they forced him to play with, and they create a wide open receiver, and he just misses him. He just misses him. We were soft in run support. We didn't match the routes. The fits were terrible. Other than that,
I actually thought somewhat that the communication at the second level was okay. There was just hesitation after the snap. That was the other problem. There was tentative play. You weren't getting downhill and committing to your job. And these are all very basic things. These are not hard to assess. These are also not hard to predict that are going to be necessary. And part of the deal is, if Georgia Tech runs 50 plays, 60 plays, whatever they ran, you are going to have a breakdown because that's the nature of the scheme that they run. It's just will they hit them.
Guys make plays, right?
Right. But or coaches scheme things up. This is why things are wide open. That is going to happen. But my problem was, while there were some communications issues, I just didn't see the downhill commitment to one's task.
There wasn't any.
That was the problem to me. You're going to get things wrong. This offense is designed to create those problems. But whatever your job is, you've got to stick to it. You've got to be disciplined enough to stay there just in case it's going to come back your way. But then also, at the snap, get after it. It's a tough balancing act, but these players are paid enough to do it too. You can start to say that now.
Well, also, if you're going to make mistakes, make them fast and violent.
Correct. LaMarcus Joyner made a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah, but he made them fast and violent.
Yep. Some of them ended up being explosive plays.
Huge plays, both against you and for you. LaMarcus was a unique player. But there was no mistaking the physicality, the speed, the ferocity with which he played. All of that was lacking from this defense. Everything I just said was lacking from this defense. And that's what leads people to believe, and I think they're incorrect, but I can get why they derived this conclusion from watching the game now 3 times in total, 1 live, 2 since. The people who see that, who watch that, and they see the indecisiveness and the lack of physicality and the inability to finish plays and play through the end of the play, okay, that tells a fan at home that they don't care, that they're not trying, that they don't want to be there. That's not always true. Some of that is the byproduct of confusion. Some of that is, to some degree, I think, this idea that we're going to stymie their offensive line. We're going to play sort of neutral here. We don't have to win. We just need to not lose, right? Now, once that's done, if you've properly set the edge, then you come up and trigger and make tackles downhill, okay? So you're a linebacker. There's no second level that the offensive line has gotten to. So now you're not having to take on a lead blocker at the second level that's 330 pounds. That's a problem for a linebacker, right? When you go back to the NFL for all those years that Ray Lewis dominated the game, their defensive front was massive and played physically, right? They got a pushback to start. Ray was clean. Now, he was also a bad son of a bitch, and he probably would have destroyed anybody who came out to block him anyhow. But my point was he was allowed to roam sideline to sideline, because he had great athleticism with that size, and he was a tenacious SOB who was going to bring the thunder when he got there, right? But you can only do that as a linebacker if you're not covered up by somebody, right? All right, so I thought that this group kind of played in the sense that they weren't trying to penetrate. They were just trying to stymie. But the linebackers didn't know what they were looking at and never triggered downhill.
I don't.
The safeties didn't either.
Yeah, my thing is, I don't think that was the game plan. From what I'm hearing from Adam Fuller today suggests to me that he believes that they played soft in the front, meaning the front 4 were soft. So I have a hard time believing that's the game plan. I also have a very hard time. You're trying to showcase the best you have. I have a very hard time believing that our game plan was to showcase our linebackers, because that's what that would be about. That would be about putting them on display.
It would also be about the fear of Haynes King's legs, is what that would also be about.
Well, which you can, when their backup quarterback comes in and runs right up the middle.
Oh, well, also,
by the way, what were the backers
but what were they doing?
They're so afraid of the perimeter. Yeah. They're so afraid of the perimeter.
Okay, I'll just walk right up the middle.
Right. Yeah.
Buddy, there's so much wrong with what happened on Saturday. You have to just throw it away. Throw it in the trash can, and let's see what happens this Monday. I know you can't forget about it. I'm not telling you to forget about it. And everybody's angry about it. Got it. But I can't believe that's who they are. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe that's who they are. And then we got a different discussion and a different problem. I'm willing for now to suggest that this is a one-off. That this was, now they may not be great. They may be a 9-3, 8-4 type team. We'll find that out too. And I do think they've got some problems that may not be fixable in some areas. I'm not sure they're going to get that much better at linebacker.
Well, unless you invest in the youth, you might have a chance, but you're going to wear it in the beginning.
Yeah, okay, maybe. But I mean,
we'll see how many snaps Nicholson gets this week.
Well, Lord knows he'd be in there for a snap and they'd pull his ass out. It was crazy.
Can Juice Cryer have one more appearance on the field this week?
Is he allowed to play?
Yeah, right.
Cam Riley got the start, got the opportunity because of the great camp that he had. That's legit. He did. The coaches said that. You don't have to trust Warchant's eyes. The coaches said that. And then he's playing. And he wasn't good. He wasn't good in this game. So I think there's an awful lot of, surprise for everybody involved, from a fan to a player to a coach.
It's a very difficult scheme to go against when you're a veteran. It's even harder
Much
to go
more
against
difficult,
when you're breaking in all these new players. We said as much last week, but one of the things you said last hour that I agree with, sometimes football is just about whooping somebody's ass across from you.
Yes.
And they're allowed to do that. And this team does have enough talent to do that, and they hardly ever did. That's why it was as comprehensive a defeat with a 3-point margin on the scoreboard as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You felt totally beat.
Well, put it this way.
It came down to one kick at the end with the time expiring.
Yeah, if you were Georgia Tech, you were furious you were in the position you were in to have to win it that way.
When we convert 4th downs and tie it, you're like, we're going to screw around and lose this game.
We're going to screw around and lose.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, if you don't make the same mistake that you've made all game by taking a god-awful angle and not matching personnel when they split the two out wide on 3rd and forever, if you go make the tackle, because you know what they're going to run, they've run that play all night. If you know that play's coming and you take a proper angle and tackle, I don't think he tries to kick the field goal there. It's going to be 50-something yards. I don't think he's going to try to kick the field goal there for fear that we're going to get the ball right there.
Or
we'll go to overtime, or he's got to kick it low and he's worried about a block. I mean, I'm not sure. They may have just thrown it into the end zone. But you don't tackle.
Gain at 12.
Dude gets 12 yards. And now it's kind of a chip shot. That was a microcosm of all the things that we saw in this football game. It was just one more example of the absurdity that this game played out as. Now, I want to continue to make sure, for my own sake, because I can know I get it, when you do a show like we do where the central theme is always going to be Florida State. That's our school. That's what we do. We talk about, but we also love the game, and I'll give credit where credit's due whenever I can. I thought Georgia Tech was extremely well coached and did an incredible job of executing, and their players played harder than ours and deserved to win the game. Georgia Tech looked like the better football team on Saturday. I don't think there was any doubt. There was nothing flukish about it. In fact, I thought with the way the two teams played and executed, that Tech should have won by double digits. They probably should have won this game by 10 points or more. Georgia Tech should have. If you look at execution, if you look at the way that they played, the energy, the speed, all of it.
That was another thing that was a bit of a spin job today where Coach Norvell said that they moved the ball in every possession. Well, you've got a 3 and out that you're bailed out with a face mask. And we were in 3rd and forever in that situation. You were dead,
Oh, that's the play Robert Scott got.
Right.
Yeah.
But
why is he there? Why is he
your
out
point
there?
about a multi-score defeat? Yeah. Now maybe that forces Mike to change things, and you never know how the dominoes fall.
You don't.
And the one thing I would say where he is correct, and I totally agree, was especially in that first quarter. Oh my God, not to be Jimbo, but they have a lot of things.
There's 2 out the gates,
and a couple others that have a chance to be 15. They end up being 4. Things like that.
But I also think that is a mistake in that you expect Jaylen Brown to make that block.
Sure.
If Hakeem is out there, maybe that happens. Hakeem couldn't play, so we all saw that. I thought it made a big difference in the game, in particular in blocking.
Yeah, you want to go east-west. Losing Johnny was big year over year, but we knew that Hakeem had really taken to the assignment.
He loves to block.
He loves it. And he will be useful if and when he's available. But what I'm saying is, to be optimistic for a moment, when you see those close calls, I know it's in there. I know more explosive plays are in there. But my frustration is something that I talked about last week, which is you walk out of that game and you say, hey, how do you think Roydell played? It's hard to give you a good, complete answer because he started off well, but then he goes away. How do you think Toafili played? I thought he was very useful for us, but you know what? I didn't see him a whole lot. How do you think Jalen Lucas played? There were moments where I thought Jalen might have been our best skill position player on Saturday. Then I didn't see him. And even to the point where I believe we were asking each other in the box, is he okay? Because I see 13 on the sideline there. All of the substitutions, it's very hard to assess what you got out of many of these skill position players
Well,
you just didn't see him enough.
I felt like Mike owned that today in the press conference.
On the Jalen Lucas point, he 100%
He certainly owned it today on the press conference. I think there was a whole lot of uncertainty, and he's blaming himself about a lack of shot plays. He's blaming himself about certain personnel substitution patterns. He's blaming him. I think, well, you know what? What a good coach does after he watches a team that has more talent lose to a team that has less talent is he takes the blame. And I think Mike knows that this was a catastrophic from Jump Street effort on his part. Like that, the camp that leads you to that game plan and this execution or lack thereof.
Yeah, the event
that is that camp tells you that he's mad at himself.
Well, and that's where I'm not second guessing his competence.
Oh God, no.
But that was a disaster.
Yeah, you can say
That
both are
day
true.
was.
I mean, obviously the man has coaching prowess. He's proven it. We know that.
It's a healthy force. That's one ugly ass tree right there. That's an ugly ass tree.
Somebody took issue when I said on Twitter that I thought it was his worst game as a head coach. And they cited some of the bad losses or the 0-4 start or the Jacksonville State game. I told you, I don't know if I said this on the record, but the reason that I believe this was worse than any of those is that you do crazy things when you're in a rebuild and you don't think you have talent and you're trying to find answers to questions that are too many, right? That you're just left constantly searching. You're putting out brush fire. Pretty soon you've ignored certain other things that needed to be tended to. And so in a massive rebuild like Florida State was in when he first got here, and the inability to go out and recruit because of COVID and all these things, you get crazy results. And I just, okay, all right, got it. Weird things happen. That was a misassessment. You screwed this up. Shouldn't have done that. We know it. Some of the absurd fourth down decisions. He was trying to create more possessions, not fewer, because he knew he was playing to win. He was playing to win, but he didn't have the dudes. I largely, in that process to get to where we were to win 10 games and then 13, kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater there. Those little weird games and pockets in time were all part of a weird rebuild. Once you emerge from that, now you can assess a team that has good players, really good players, right? You've done a good job of flipping the roster. You don't have to be desperate in the way that you go about game planning anymore. Now I can assess you on game to game, yay or nay, you get it done. It's not always a bad coaching job if you lose a game. It's not always a good coaching job if you win a game. I thought this was as poor an effort as we saw from Mike, maybe ever, at least at Florida State. I can't document every game he coached at Memphis, but I thought it was in the conversation. And given what we knew Georgia Tech was and what they wanted to do.
Right. Yeah. I just keep coming back to that from like the perspective of, as an outsider, if you can see what's coming and then it plays out exactly as what the outsider would see is coming and you don't look prepared for it and you don't look prepared for it like that. There's a disconnect there that is alarming and concerning. And that could be about a lot of different things. It's on them to sort it out. But when I'm looking at snap distribution, I'm looking at the ferocity with which they play.
Or lack thereof, yeah.
You know, well, I'm thinking ahead now, to Monday, and I'm thinking to the next game. I wonder. You know, there's one thing we talked about before we set sail or hopped on an Aer Lingus flight. Specifically with Marvin Jones Jr., I had some notes. I was wondering about how will he hold up against the run. Now, this is specifically a very tough scheme to be in that position, but I want to see on first and second down how often is 13 out there, Lolahea. Because I know on third and passing, Marvin Jones will be out there.
Sure.
He should be.
Sure.
But are we about to carve ourselves into some specialist roles here? And we're going to put one guy out there for rundowns because there's no time. There's no time for you to show that you're a balanced this or that. We've lost. We're 0-1. We don't want to go 0-2. So does that mean Lolahea is out there on every first and second down?
I'm not entertaining the idea of going 0-2. I'll tell you what, you go 0-2 and your first two losses are both conference games in there to the likes of Georgia Tech and BC. Holy moly. This will get interesting. Ethernet, Cat6, fiber optic, and coax cabling. Crown Networking is your source for the entire installation process, including wireless services. Make sure your home or office has reliable and steady network with Crown Networking before your network's down. Call Crown. Tallahassee, that number is 850-999-0090. 850-999-0090. Howdy, folks. Jeff Cameron here to tell you about my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee. What is DexaFit, you might ask? Well, it's where you want to go if you're looking to elevate your health and fitness journey. DexaFit's exclusive services include AI-enhanced body scans, VO2 max fit testing, and RMR metabolism analysis to provide detailed insights into your body composition, cardiovascular fitness, and metabolic well-being. Sounds like a lot of science, but that's because it is the most advanced science available. In fact, that's a good thing, right? DexaFit gives you immediate detailed insights about your body composition, provides a customized plan to improve on troubled areas delivered in an easy-to-navigate mobile app so you can share the information with your trainer or even your doctor to find the most direct path to your peak health. Check out DexaFit Tallahassee, the most accurate and most state-of-the-art body composition scanning and fitness planning available. Located on Capitol Circle Northeast, directly next to Bumpus. Check them out online at DexaFit.com and tell them Jeff Cameron sent you. DexaFit Tallahassee. Know your body and transform your life.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping. Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps. Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors and we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless. Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limited. NMLS number 373036.
Hey, Knoll fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
See Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASE trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on here as we, get excited about Redemption Thursday. I'll be glad when we're able to put this to bed. I will sneak peek here a little bit to Florida State, Boston College. I think Florida State wins, and I think Florida State wins convincingly. This is, yeah, sure, I got it. We've got PTSD. We got PTSD for two reasons. We just saw Georgia Tech do what they did to us, especially what happened to our defense. And then secondly, Castellanos last year doing what he did to our defense with half the team dealing with the flu after we got out to a huge lead. Not the same set of circumstances. I think Florida State will show up. I think they'll play angry. I think they'll be very physical, and I think they'll execute better, and I think they'll win the game fairly comfortably.
It wouldn't shock me if the start was uneven, because usually when you're trying to respond to something, there's an overcorrection and you almost get out of your lane because you're so amped up to, right the wrong, that maybe you take a wrong gap, or which we've seen plenty of, or maybe you miss a throw or whatever. Like I could see now, maybe they start fine, but I would tend to agree with you that you look at it the other way. If they don't play inspired on Monday night, that would be a stunning development. That would be an absolutely stunning development. I think it's a given that they're going to come out there. And if they do that, then yes, the score should take care of itself.
If for some reason they don't play with any sort of fire or toughness, then we've got a much bigger issue that we'll have to delve into and try to get to the bottom of. There'd be no ignoring that. You can't have this. Football is too tough to play. It's just too tough. You got to want to be here. You got to want to play hard for the guy next to you. You got to do your assignment. You got to want to be physical. It's not a game that you can play passively, either emotionally or physically. You have to be all in. Football's an all-in game. It requires so much sacrifice and so much toughness, mentally and physically. So if you don't see it, then there's something bigger at play here, and I don't even want to think about that. There's no reason to project that that's going to happen. I'm not saying as the result of this game, which is a bad result and a bad game plan and poor execution and really a miserable, from a game standpoint, miserable game all the way around. But I don't know that that reflects on this program in any way. We just had 13 data points to decide what this program is or is becoming and what we think it can be and what Mike has built to allow this one to offset all of that. And again, I get what happened in the Georgia game, and people want somehow to connect the dots there. I don't think that they're related in any way, shape, or form at all. I don't think there's any connection whatsoever. Now, I think they did a poor job of getting this team ready to play on Saturday. They had a poor game plan, and they got out-coached, and they lost the football game. That's all I think that is. That's a singular result, and let's see now. If on Monday we're watching something similar, Florida State might win this game. It could still be terrible, and then we would have a much different conversation. So I don't see it really playing out.
It's a conversation we had in the press box during a TV timeout. One of the many down the stretch in the fourth quarter is that, look, if you do win this football game, it doesn't fix everything.
No, we were still going to rip them.
You watched the 60-minute performance.
Yeah, you saw what happened.
They could have gotten a stop on 3rd and forever. Kid trips. He falls.
Right, whatever.
And they punt, and we go
down.
down.
Certainly wouldn't have been because they tackled or took a proper angle. I get the joke, yes.
Yeah. He falls, throw goes over his head.
Yeah.
And then you make a 52-yarder, and you win 24-21.
Right.
You would breathe a sigh of relief. Yes, 100%. And there'd be more smiles. But on the whole of process how you got there, you'd be like, dude, don't do that again. Now you're saying don't do that again at 0-1 and 0-1 in the ACC. That's the difference.
It is the difference. And when you dodge a bullet like that, sometimes you are able to kind of learn from it, pick yourself up and say, oh my goodness, that was almost a disaster. Instead, you didn't dodge it. It was a disaster. You are in a hole. That said, of all the years to start the season this way, where you lose as a prohibitive favorite, double-digit favorite, you do have opportunities that you might not have had in yesteryear. Because the system is different. There are 12 teams that make the playoff. You can have 3 losses and make the playoff if you win the ACC. I'm not saying it's likely if you have 3 losses that you're going to be in the ACC championship game. I'm saying it's a possibility. And this in the past would have been a death knell. Florida State fans know the history of which I speak, where at the end of the year, they were the best team in the country. But because they tripped up against Miami, or God forbid, Southern Miss and Clemson one year, we know that by the time they righted the ship, unfortunately, it was close, but they were never able to get back in. That's not true now. That 10-2 team that was playing better than everybody else that year, I'm speaking specifically of the one that lost to Southern Miss and Clemson, would have won the playoff, would have been the team to beat in the playoff. But there was no playoff, and they didn't get in. They weren't afforded that chance because they stumbled out the gates. You can stumble out the gates now, get it corrected, win a bunch of ball games, and reflect back at that travesty and say, goodness gracious, thank goodness that's not who we were. I'll remember it. It'll always anger me. I'll have it in the back of my head before next year's first game and wonder whether or not we're ready. But it wasn't indicative. It's not a referendum of the program or the coach or the team. It's just a bad game in unique sets of circumstances in Ireland against a team that was veteran-laden, who had an identity, was fired up to play it, knew who they were, stuck to it, and executed better and coached better. Tip of the cap. Sucks for us. Let's move on. Now, you can't know how they're going to be Monday, but we certainly speculate. All sports fans do. That's what you do. You try to take the context clues and the evidence and say, all right, those weren't good from Saturday, but I have a host of other context clues and information that I've gathered over the course of the last couple of years. Some involve these players, all of which involve these coaches, that tell me I'm going to see a different team on Monday. And I'm going to lean into that because the evidence, or the data points, if you will, are pretty overwhelming that that's what they're going to be. If they're not, we'll have to reconvene, which we will on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, and have a very different discussion.
You think, and this is part of the speculation, and I saw a question in the chat, have we seen practice? No, we're not allowed into practice until Tuesday, Wednesday of game weeks.
Today is considered
and
a Monday
today is considered
of game
a
week.
Monday, so we have not seen what's going on.
Yeah. I want to see it for a variety of reasons, but yes.
Offensive skill position player rotation. You think that this is part of the lesson that they're going to apply? Like, we can all talk about that, and I can, thump my chest that was a concern, and it played out, and it felt like we weren't in a rhythm. And to a degree, it sounds like Mike Norvell is pissed off that they did what they did, but how do they apply it? Like, let's just say that we run 70 plays, and the game is in the balance for 60 of them, or it's close enough for 60 of them. Think we're rotating 4 or 5 running backs? You think Keziah Holmes gets a drive? You think that Cam Davis gets a drive? You think that Jalen?
No,
or are they going to start to, this distribution of snaps is going to start to get consolidated?
I think it'll get consolidated for a lot of reasons. Not a great first game for Cam Davis, by the way. That's a tough,
I couldn't believe it.
Tough beginning.
Ask him to lead block on a sweep. You're going to ask him to. I mean, he's open.
You do have to catch the ball. You do have to catch the ball. It's not a great throw, but you got to catch the ball. I mean, it's right here. It's just slow. Yeah.
I mean, assignment of blame for the misplay is like 80-20. That 20, though, we could throw the ball a little better.
You could throw the ball a little better there, but catch the ball and turn around and use your massive legs to truck people.
Yeah.
But you got to catch it first.
If it's on time, you might gain 20. The way you threw it, you might gain 10. Let's take the 10. I'll take it.
Catch it.
Better than 0.
Catch it. Yeah, man. There were process. We can get into a lot of this. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to be guilty of the thing that I'm trying to discourage, which is to presume that from this game, we're going to get much the same in week 2 or week 1, technically, because we were week 0. I don't think that's true. Now, there might be some shortcomings to this team that don't change. In fact, there are some shortcomings to this team that aren't going to change, that you wish were better, that aren't of a elite caliber, that you wish were better. I mean, this is not going to be an elite receiver group. This is not going to be an elite group of linebackers. It's not going to be, period.
They might be okay at receiver.
They might. I didn't say they wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
They might be okay. It's hard to know.
Yeah, they might be okay.
When they had to make some plays, they did. Like it's like what I was saying with the running backs. How did Kentron play? Not sure. Had a nice catch in a big situation.
Yeah, he had the 15-yard catch.
Yeah. Looked pretty good running that route. Simple little RPO thing, but looked good.
Benson looked good a couple times.
How did Darion play? I don't know. Wasn't targeted, really.
I think he was targeted one time, right? 5 yards?
Might have been. Yeah. I thought more targets were coming for those guys. They did legitimately have a good finish to camp. And they were competing against, not the scout team.
Late in the second quarter, I tweeted out that our receivers had been targeted, or our receivers had a grand total of 3 catches for 11 yards. Everything else was to running backs. Now, immediately after that, they threw the ball. They threw the ball, I think, to Benson. But
and they did target Ja'Kai, and they got. But I think the PI was it Toafili who was
targeted?
It
was Toafili who was targeted there. A lot of throws to the running backs.
Well, look, You love Toafili that much, and he is a Swiss Army knife. Maybe you just line him up at receiver more often so you can use these other backs. But they got to figure it. It feels like they just kept on rifling through in the game. You're like, oh, sub package here, sub
I
package
think Riley
there.
said in the chat earlier today that it felt reeked of desperation a little bit with the way that the substitution patterns
There's
were.
a bunch of sub packages.
Yeah.
It felt like.
Didn't feel like a cohesive, cogent game plan, but rather just a bunch of plays, if you will. Yeah, just a bunch of plays. Tried and True Consulting, my buddies, Don and Joe, business that are actively looking to utilize wall space that you may have. You might have an existing television, but if you don't, they'll put 55-inch television in there for you. And they're here to help you as a local business. Tried and True ad program will give you the much-needed boost and or exposure your company and services need. Reach more people. Whether you have the space or you need to sell more business, the program may be ideal for you. If you are a dental or medical office, you got a waiting room, auto repair shop, a dealership, perhaps a bank, community banks, those kinds of things, certainly restaurants and bars, make sure you reach out to Don or Joe and give them a call today at 844-464-6653. 10% of their net revenue goes back to the Battles Inn, and you can get a free consultation today. Scan that QR code, 844-464-6653. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A Florida man scheduled to be put to death on Thursday is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to delay his execution so that his challenge to Florida's lethal injection procedures can be heard. Lauren Cole, 57, is slated to be executed at 6 p.m. on Thursday at the Florida State Prison after Governor Ron DeSantis signed his death warrant in July. Cole was convicted of kidnapping adult siblings camping in the Ocala National Forest in 1994, raping the sister and murdering the brother. Yesterday, Cole appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court to stay the execution. Cole has argued the administration of Florida's drug cocktail will very likely cause him needless pain and suffering due to symptoms caused by his Parkinson's disease. Many of Florida's death penalty procedures are exempt from public records. Botched executions in other states have brought increased scrutiny of the death penalty and the secrecy around it as officials struggle to secure the necessary drug cocktails and staff capable of administering them. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Chance for storms this afternoon. Otherwise, a mix of clouds and sun. Daytime highs approaching 94. Southeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear tonight. Slight chance for storms 74. Slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 94. Mainly sunny. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 92 degrees.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at widdenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
I'll never forget
that moment. As long as I live.
my first call ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
By the way, Tom, kudos to you and kudos to him. I thought maybe the lone bright spot on the defensive line was Daniel Lyons. Somebody mentioned in the chat, it sparked my need to address this because when I went back and was watching early this morning, he had a couple of nice plays. He wasn't overwhelming. He's not, he wasn't a dominant player. I'm not trying to insinuate that. But I thought he played hard. I thought he had the requisite level of intensity and some decent penetration from him. I thought Daniel Lyons played okay. Played pretty well.
Yeah, he's a guy I've always liked because he's a disruptor. And he's got a good motor to go along with that disruption. It's not that he's small at all. He's actually kind of tallish for the frame of the position.
Yeah.
But that line across when they dominated the 2 second possessions of each half, it was backup defensive ends. You had Lola Hea and you had Byron Turner.
Well, it angers you because the point is that the backups had the 2 most successful stints.
They paved the way. They paved the way for the linebackers, for everybody to do what they were supposed to do. And this is where Adam Fuller today is telling me that he hates the way that the starting group of the front 4 was the lack of physicality that he saw out of that group with consistency. Now, one thing to clarify, though, is Josh Farmer was out there with those backups in those drives.
Josh didn't play terrible. He didn't play great. He's got to play better, but he wasn't awful.
I didn't think he was awful either.
No, Daryl Jackson was awful. He didn't do anything.
He was rough.
I'm 2 fingers my eyes, 2 fingers back to you. There's no way to look like that and to have moments like he's had in this camp to dominate some offensive linemen and to just completely no-show in this game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Peyton looked disengaged. I don't know what that's about because that dude has a high motor. I mean, just this time last year when we were breaking down the LSU game, that dude was making plays that were outside of his responsibility because his responsibility had been fulfilled, and it was through pursuit and through football IQ and high motor. So I don't question his commitment level to the game of football. You've seen that in spades in Patrick Payton's career, but he looked disengaged, and I don't know how to explain that. But the backup group did well. Grady Kelly was hardly out there. KJ Sampson also had an explosive camp. I'm telling you, man, if they're half-stepping in the interior, watch this rotation and snap count change. Daniel Lyons earned more snaps this week, and so did Sione.
I mentioned the condensed sets and the motion that caused problems for us in this game. The other aspect of this, that pre-snap stuff that we're referencing there, those shifts and those motions, created confusion as to who the run fits were. And it did allow, when you go back and watch again, it allows them on multiple occasions. This is smart. This is just good coaching. This is Georgia Tech knowing what they are. They double our DTs. So I don't put all the blame on them. I do. There were a lot of times where they're doubled in the run game. Just like I look at the offensive line and say, okay, you're not getting a bunch of results in this game, in the run game. But a lot of that was numbers because you never threw the ball over their head. They never had to worry about you taking shots downfield. So they walked safeties up and said, you're going to run the ball because that's all you've been doing. And Mike played into it because he was hell-bent on running the ball. That was the game plan going in. He thought that this offensive line would manhandle Georgia Tech's defensive line and they would be able to dictate terms. But they never could dictate terms. And then what made matters worse was once they became very predictable, Georgia Tech walked up and had the numbers. I don't care what offensive line you are, you're going to have a hard time winning when you don't have enough to block them. So when there are 8 and you've got 5, you're in trouble. And a lot of that was the numbers in the second half. Look, they got to be better. I'm not excusing anything away.
Yeah.
But not every play was the result of a mano butt whooping.
No, sometimes the sequence of the play calling or the design didn't make much sense. And I know. I'm not a coach, but what I'm saying is we've talked about this on Bellying Up. You know, you're going to call counter long developing run the play before you kick to end the first half. And there's nobody on one side and they're stacked up on the other. You're pulling guards from a place where there are a ton of yellow jackets to shoot the gap, to make your life a living hell on the backside of the play. Yeah. I think some of the H-back tight end stuff is a little rough too right now, which was a problem last year. That was a problem last year.
We first guessed this, though, for all of the flowery language we used to talk about the offensive and defensive lines. We worried about inline blocking with the tight ends from the jump.
Well, and then philosophically, Adam Fuller did tell us when he went on the record last week about what he thought that this game, the importance of this game, he needed to be more vanilla, and he didn't want to commit an extra body down there to stop the run. That is one approach that you can take, is you don't want to commit an extra body.
That is one approach.
Well, I mean, if the D-line wins, then you don't have to.
I understand.
Georgia Tech looked at it the other way. Georgia Tech was like a young man that quick to punch guy.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not waiting.
No.
I know you want to run. And so if we're going to give up big plays, so what? I'm going to make more plays in the backfield. Hell with you.
Remember, being decisive is a good thing.
Right.
In football.
Or I think, yes, I do think some of what we were trying to do was more about letting us see and diagnose, where they said, what the hell with diagnosing? You're running the ball. We're coming to get you.
We knew they were going to run the ball too, by the way.
Oh, yes. I was going to say sure, and I stopped, and I know what it sounded like.
Yeah, it's not. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas have everything you need for pool maintenance, chemicals, cleaners, pumps, vacuums, nets, covers, you name it, they got it. They also have the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the entire city. You can easily finance making these amazing hot tubs very affordable. If you got an old hot tub, you've been wanting to put that sucker out the pasture, don't know how to move that thing, it's laborious, call them. They'll get the old hot tub removed. They'll give you money towards your new hot tub. That's a hell of a solution. Not only will Pinch A Penny do all of that, but they'll create it at a low interest rate. They do so for a lot of you that have reached out to us about the Greer Road facility, which has 60 hot tubs. It's insane. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas. If you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how. It's time for probables, Tommy.
I was going to say real quick, I suppose we don't need very much in the way of the cold tub or the hot tub. Not many plays that we ran. Rotate a lot of dudes.
Yeah. Guys got 3 and 4 plays at a stretch there, maybe. At most. They're feeling good. They're out for a jog. They didn't get hit or nothing. You looking for probables?
I'm looking for probables, yeah.
There,
I'm also looking for a smaller rotation is what I'm looking for.
It's on the board. It just says probably place.
No, I believe the director moved it for W's and L's. I know where it's supposed to go.
No.
There it is.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Pirates, Cubs, Buccos lead 10-5 over the Cubs right now in the 7th inning. That's a good thing. It was a Paul Skeens start. I don't know how much he gave up of those 5, but the Pirates do lead by 5 in the late innings. That's a good thing. Kyle Hendricks started for the Cubs. Kansas City 4, Cleveland 2. That was Michael Wacha and Tanner Bibby. Astros, Phillies, they get started just after the show ends. Spencer Arrighetti. Tawan Walker. I like this Spencer Arrighetti cat. Rays, Mariners, Drew Rasmussen, Luis Castillo. Angels, Tigers, Griffin Canning, cheater on the golf course. Mason Englert is also a cheater on the golf course. A's, Reds, Osvaldo Bido, Fernando Cruz. Yankees, Nationals, Carlos Rodon, Mackenzie Gore. Blue Jays, Red Sox, Chris Bassett, Brian Bello, who spells his name like an idiot. Braves, Twins, Chris Sale, David Festa. Padres, Cardinals, Joe Musgrove, Andre Palante. Giants, Brewers, Kyle Harrison, Freddie Peralta. Rangers, White Sox, Jack Leiter, TBD. Oh, my Lord. Okay, I was going to say. Jack Leiter has a 16.39 ERA. I'm like, Jack, let's get it together. And also, Texas, stop rolling Jack Leiter out there. But he's just come back to the rotation. He's doing the spot start thing. That's crazy. Like, why? That's very patient. We're late in the year. I don't think
we believe in Jack Leiter.
Jack, at some point, you're going to get some outs. Marlins, Rockies, Max Meyer, Kyle Freeland. Mets, D-backs tonight. Luis Severino and Eduardo Rodriguez. D-backs are tough, man.
We got him last night, at least.
That's a good team.
Like one of their 14 losses since the break.
They don't lose, yeah. Orioles, Dodgers, great game. Corbin Burns and Walker Buehler.
Trapper keeper.
There it is. Second game of the doubleheader would be Rangers White Sox later tonight. Andrew Haney and Chris Flexen. That is a look at those that shall reside on the bump, and there's a lot of them. Whew.
Oh, yeah, baseball. Forgot about that.
I wanted to double check this really quick. Where are you? Yeah, there it is. Holy moly. The White Sox are 31-101. 31-101.
They've at least gotten to a full month of victories. There you go. If you started the season way, way back in March as a White Sox fan, you have 1 month of happiness.
So you know that I've been a very loyal, still am, Pittsburgh Pirate fan over the years. They've fielded some dreadful teams in my time on the air, some 107 loss type teams and things like that. I don't know, man. I don't know, because I'll watch bad baseball if they're mixing in the youth and they're doing things like that, just to see what's going to be for next year, to get a sense of my team, like, oh, that kid's really good. I like him. This team's awful, but he can play. Or young pitchers or relievers or whatever. I don't think that if the run differential for the Pirates at any point during the time that I watched this was minus 279, which is what it is for the White Sox. I've never seen anything like that. Do you know that, well, the Rockies are also quietly awful this year. They're 49-84. And they've given up a ton of runs, but they're not, minus 279. Here are the other last place teams. Minus 63, minus 127, the sorry-ass Angels. It's a toughie. They lost Trout. The Marlins are up there high on the list at 48-84 at minus 184.
Yeah, it's a very special tailspin in the last month for the Marlins. Yeah.
Rockies are at over 200, minus 208.
Well, yeah, they can't pitch at all. You know, they play beautiful infield defense, Jeff. They really do.
Beautiful infield defense. That's a tough.
Doesn't help them save many runs.
So can we wash it? Is the palate clean? Are we good?
Better be. Tomorrow's Redemption Thursday.
Tomorrow is Redemption Thursday, and I am pumped to get after it because, again, we've got a fun weekend, a park your ass Saturday. Knowles don't even play until Monday. There's no reason.
Well, Knowles haven't played yet.
That's correct. There's no reason, no effing reason you shouldn't grill out, have the friends over, long holiday weekend, get you some cold ones. Perhaps you just need shots of tequila. I don't know. That was a tough one to stomach.
You need a Dales Pale Ale. That's what you need. It's been a minute.
Oh, it's been a minute since I've had a Dale's Pale. All right. I hear you talking. I haven't had a drop in 3 days.
Well, Dublin was good for
I was too busy being stuck in an airport in Heathrow where I was like, son of a bitch.
I don't know what happened more, Georgia Tech with 4+ yard plays or me with pints of Guinness.
Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Good work out of you. Be well. We'll be back tomorrow for Redemption Thursday. Until then, peace.
Flavors in the capital city.